Now that we have Visual Studio installed, let's create our first C# application. We're just going to make something simple, and then we'll build on it in the next video. All we want to do for now is output some text to a window on the screen. Once you open Visual Studio, click on New Project. Starting a new project will open up this window, which will allow us to set up our new project. Make sure you have C# selected over here under Templates, and not Visual Basic or Visual C++. Here, we have several different types of projects that we can start. For now, since we're just learning the fundamentals of the C# language, all we need is a console application. Down here, you can name your project whatever you like, but conventionally a C# project is named in camel case, so no spaces and the first letter of each word capitalized. I'll name this My First App, following the naming conventions, no spaces, and the first letter of each word capitalized. Go ahead and hit OK, and Visual Studio will create the project. Here in the main window, Visual Studio has created some code for us that will be the basis of our application. This code is in a file called program.cs, and you can find program.cs over here in the Solution Explorer. Visual Studio created a new folder, My First App, which contains all of the code required to make our console application. Don't worry about any of the code in the window yet. We'll get into all that later, but for now, we just need to learn how to output some text to a window on the screen. When we run our application, the very first thing that happens, the first code that is executed, is anything inside of these two curly braces. Inside these curly braces is where we'll write our code. First, begin typing console. As you can see, when I type, IntelliSense helps fill in the code, showing you all the possible options. For this example, we want console. This is kind of like the DOS prompt box. It can just display text, no graphics. The word console, here in the code, refers to the built-in behavior of that console window. When you put a period after console, you can see a list of methods that the console class can perform. Don't worry about the terms method or class right now. Just remember that console refers to the window, or more specifically the class that contains the code to control the window, and a method is just an action that the class can perform. The method we want is WriteLine, followed by parentheses. Make sure the first letter of each word, write and line, is capitalized. WriteLine is pretty self-explanatory. It writes a line of text to the console window. We need to tell this method what to write in the console, and we do that by writing text inside these parentheses. The text must be contained between double quotes. Write any line of text you want, just keep it simple. When C# interprets the code you've written, it does so line by line. It takes something like this WriteLine method, executes it, and then moves on to the next line, if there is one. We need to tell C# where a line of code ends, so that it knows to go on to the next line, and we do that with a semicolon, directly after the WriteLine method. This semicolon informs C# that it needs to go to the next line of code, which in this case there is none. When there's no more code to be executed, the console window will close. So right now, if we run this code, all that we'll see is a console window appear and disappear. Hit the Start button up here, and the program will compile and run itself. What happened is the console wrote a line of text and saw there was no more code to be run and then closed down. There were no errors, everything ran successfully, but we didn't get to see the output. So we're going to use another method, also part of the console class. On the next line, type console.readKey. Parentheses, and a semicolon. Remember, the first letter in both of the words read and key needs to be capitalized, and we need a semicolon to tell C# that the line of code ends here. The read key method will wait until you press a key, keeping the console window open until that key is pressed. Now if we compile the program, we can see the console window and the line of text we wrote. Press any key and the console window closes down. It's simple, but we've built our first application using the WriteLine and read key methods of the console class, and successfully output a line of text to the screen. Next, we'll take a look at how we can improve on this basic app by letting the user input text as well.